serikali, na ningeweza kufanya biashara na serikali kama wafanya biashara wengi nchini. Sijafanya hivyo kwa makusudi kabisa, kwamba nina uwezo wa kufanya biashara na sekta binafsi na nikasonga mbele. Hilo ningependa liliseme kwamba kumtaja Rostam inavutia. Inavutia, inawafanya watu waamini. Inawafanya watu wakubali kile kinachosemwa. Lakini hizi ni story, ni porojo ambazo hazina mashiko. Mimi na challenge mtu yoyote ambaye anadhani mimi nimefanya chochote kile tofauti aende mahakamani. Si ndio maana mahakama hiyo? Pekee porojo tu. Tena watu wenyewe kama kina Slaa, ambaye yeye mwenyewe ana historia chafu kabisa kanisani, katoka kwa utovu wa uadilifu, kenda chama cha CCM baada ya kutemwa kwa sababu ya kosa alilofanya alipokuwa kwenye utumishi wa Mungu, wakamkata jina, akahama chama kingine. Baadaye mwaka 2015 akakihama chama chake alichokijenga kwa kupewa vitu vidogo vidogo na kusaliti na kwenda mpaka kupewa na ubalozi. Na ukicheki historia yake kama balozi, hajawahi kuleta hata ajira moja Tanzania. Hajawahi kusaidia chochote, hajawahi kuleta uwekezaji kutoka huko alikokuwa miaka 4. Sasa hiyo kazi imeisha, muda wake, anatafuta kazi nyingine kwa kupitia migongo ya watu, kwa kutukana kina Rostam. Sasa Watanzania sio wajinga kama mnavyodhani, wanaelewa vitu hivi, wanasoma, wanaangalia huyu ni nani, uadilifu wake ni kiasi gani cha mimi mfanya biashara naweza kutuhumiwa vitu mbalimbali. Na hata nikituhumiwa, kuna vitu vingine naweza kuwa nimekosea mahala. Ni mimi mfanya biashara. Lakini mtu ambaye ni padri, ambaye anajifanya yeye ni kiongozi wa kutetea Watanzania, halafu yeye mwenyewe anakosa uadilifu na uaminifu, hasa huyo ndio mwenye problem, sio mimi. Mimi naendelea na biashara zangu, nitafanya kiasi ninachoweza kuendesha biashara zangu kihalali kwa kupitia kwa kuhakikisha kwamba niko ndani ya sheria hapa na nje ya nchi. Leo mtu ukiwa na tuhuma za namna hiyo, hata benki haiwezi kukupa pesa. Sasa ningewezaje kuendesha biashara zote hizi kama mimi kweli ningekuwa ni mtu ambaye hizi tuhuma ni za kweli? Singeweza kufanya biashara. Mimi nafanya biashara na benki za hapa, nafanya biashara na benki za nje, zinaniamini, ndio maana ninaweza kukuza biashara zangu. Magufuli asingeweza kuja kufungua ule mtambo wangu wa gesi, angekuwa anajua kwamba mimi si mfanya biashara halali. Asingekuja kufungua kiwanda cha Morogoro, ningekuwa mimi si mfanya biashara halali. Kwa hiyo lazima tuangalie kwamba kuna porojo na kuna ukweli. Lazima tuweze kutofautisha, wanasema nini, pumba na mchele. Sasa nadhani hilo limeeleweka. Hili la vifungu, mimi sijawahi kusema kwamba hamna mapungufu. Hata mdahalo wa juzi nimesema kama kuna mapungufu yazungumzwe, yarekebishwe. Mimi nimezungumzia dhana, wala sio DP World. Nimezungumzia dhana ya kuwa na mwekezaji katika kuimarisha na kuleta ufanisi katika bandari ya Dar es Salaam. Na nimesema kwamba mkataba uliosainiwa sio final, sababu huu mkataba ni mkataba wa kufikia makubaliano na mikataba kwa ajili ya project na project na project. Nimesema hayo kwa sababu nimesoma. Vifungu lazima visomwe kikamilifu, sio kimoja kimoja. Nimesema hayo. Dhana ya kwamba tuwe na ufanisi, na kuwa na ufanisi manake lazima ulete kampuni ya kimataifa. Sasa nitoe mfano. Huyu mwenzangu anatoka Zambia. Miaka ya 60 na 70, 100% ya bidhaa za Zambia zinazoingia na kutoka Zambia zilikuwa zinapitia bandari ya Dar es Salaam. Leo hii ni 25% tu inayopitia bandari ya Dar es Salaam. 75% zinakwenda kilomita 1200 za ziada, yani Durban kule South Africa, kuingia Zambia na kutoka Zambia. Wako tayari kugharamia zaidi bidhaa zao, lakini wanajaribu kuepuka Dar es Salaam port kwa sababu ya kutokuwa na systems na ufanisi katika bandari yetu ya Dar es Salaam. Mimi ni mfanya biashara. Mtoto wangu anafanya biashara ya parachichi pale Mafinga. Mtoto wangu wa kike. Inabidi achukue kontena lake la parachichi alipitishie Mombasa kwa $12,000, kwa sababu Dar es Salaam hapa akileta kontena la parachichi zitaoza, hazijapelekwa kule kwenye soko lake. Na Dar es Salaam, bandari ya Dar es Salaam ingekuwa na ufanisi, ingegharimu $6,000 tu na sio $12,000 anazotumia kupitia Mombasa. Kwa maana nyingine, angeweza kumpa mkulima wa parachichi shilingi 600 kwa kilo za ziada, ingekuwa bandari ya Dar es Salaam inafanya vizuri. Lakini kwa sababu ya bandari ya Dar es Salaam haifanyi vizuri, inabidi apitishie Mombasa kwa gharama zaidi, na parachichi yake anaponunua kwa mkulima ananunua kwa shilingi 600. Naweza kusema hayo kwa mazao mengi sana. Tatizo hapa, hatutetei DP World, tunatetea kwamba Dar es Salaam port lazima iendeshwe na watu, makampuni ambayo yana ile network ya kimataifa, na kuweza kuleta mifumo katika bandari yetu ili wizi uondoke. Hapa watu walikuwa wanaleta bidhaa zao za madini kutoka Kongo na Zambia, zinaibiwa hapa bandarini. Wakasema hamna security ya bidhaa zetu hapa, kwa nini tulete hapa? Wanapeleka South Africa kwa kutumia bandari ya Durban. Sasa ukiweka mifumo, hao wote wanaupiga dili. Sasa hao ndio wanaupiga dili, sio Rostam. Hao wote wanaupiga dili hawawezi kupiga dili kwa sababu ni system inaofanya kazi. Hilo ndilo mimi nimekuwa nikisema kwamba hapa lazima tuwape watu ambao wanaweza kuendesha bandari yetu, ambao wana uzoefu, ambao ni tested, tunasema Kiingereza. Na ukisema kampuni ya kimataifa tested inaweza kuwekeza, maana kuna kampuni za kimataifa zinakuja kuchuma. Sasa DP World ni katika kampuni kubwa za kuendesha bandari duniani na inawekeza. Kwani kuna tatizo gani kama mikataba yenu iweke vizuri? Lindeni maslahi, hamna mtu anayekataa hilo. Lakini hili la kuingiza siasa kwenye kitu cha kiuchumi na biashara, ndicho nilichokuwa nikisema hakifai. Tunapandikiza chuki bila sababu. Tuzungumzie biashara na uchumi na tuzungumzie mikataba na mapungufu yake. Sina shida na hilo, sina shida. Naomba mnielewe. Mimi ninachosema ni kwamba ishu ya kiuchumi na biashara isiingizwe siasa ndani yake. Hilo ndio ninalosema. Kama kuna mapungufu, tuyazungumzie mapungufu yake. Kama kuna negotiations kule mbele, watu waangalie maslahi ya nchi. Hamna mtu aliyekataa hilo. Naomba sana mnielewe, mimi sijasimama na kutetea DP World. Mimi natetea maslahi ya nchi, natetea uchumi wa nchi, natetea biashara za nchi yetu, ili watu wetu wawe bora zaidi kuliko walivyokuwa kule nyuma. Hali ilivyo hivi sasa, unapofikia wewe kwamba 100% ya bidhaa za Zambia zilikuwa zinapita hapa, leo hii bidhaa zinazopita hapa za Zambia ni 25%, ujue una tatizo kubwa. Unajua malori mangapi yatafanya biashara kama bidhaa za Zambia na za Kongo zikipitia hapa? Ni maelfu ya malori, ni maelfu ya madreva. Ni biashara itakayoshamiri kutoka Chalinze, Morogoro, Mikumi, Ruaha, Iringa, Makambako, Igawa, Mbeya mpaka Tunduma. Ni biashara, ni chain hii. Msichukulie jambo hili kama ni jambo la kimzaha hivi la kisiasa. Hili ni jambo la kiuchumi. Mnataka kuimarisha uchumi wa nchi. Bandari ni mahala muhimu sana. Kuna nchi 6-7 zinazotegemea Dar es Salaam. Tusiwafanye hawa watu wakaenda kutumia bandari za mbali, watu wetu wakakosa ajira, gereji zikakosa biashara za kufanya, migahawa yetu njiani ikawa haina wateja kwa sababu sisi tunazungumza siasa. Tujikite katika kuzungumzia masuala ya uchumi na biashara. Hili jambo la uchumi na biashara liangaliwe, mapungufu yake yajadiliwe kwa ustaarabu. Mikataba itakayokuja izingatie maslahi ya nchi. Hamna mtu aliyekataa hilo. Hamna mtu anaitetea mtu hapa. Naomba lieleweke hilo kwamba tusije tukamnukuu Rostam tofauti. Yeye anazungumzia habari ya kwamba nchi yetu lazima itumie rasilimali zake ili tuweze kuwatajirisha wananchi wetu. Hilo, na la mwisho ningependa kulijibu ni hili la kwamba kwa nini wanaenda koti ya kimataifa na sio hapa nchini. Hiyo ni sheria ambayo huwezi kupata mwekezaji. Hamna mwekezaji atakuja hapa kuwekeza pesa zake alafu kesho unamwambia aende Kisutu ambapo mtu yote wa serikali anaweza kumpigia simu jaji akaambia huyo usimpe hukumu hiyo, usimpe haki yake. Nani atakubali kuwekeza kama halindwi na sheria za kimataifa? Hawezi kuja mtu. Watakuja watu wa China, watakuja kuleta vitu vidogo vidogo, lakini biashara kubwa zinaangalia pia ulinzi wa mali yao, na ulinzi wa mali zao lazima iendane na sheria za kimataifa, na sheria za kimataifa zinasema hiyo ndio misingi ya watu kuwekeza. Sasa mimi ningekuwa mwekezaji wa nje, halafu unaniambia nikija niwekeze hapa bilioni $1, halafu nikipata matatizo niende Kisutu, siwezi kuleta hela yangu. Naomba nimalizie hapo.
Kikao chetu kilikuwa cha kutangaza
tumekuja kuingia kwenye siasa,
shughuli ya uanzishaji wa uzalishaji wa umeme na cooperation. Sasa matokeo yake kimeishia kwa cha DPL. Na mgeni wetu anahitajika kuwahi airport. Mimi ninachoweza tu kusema, ninyi wote hapa, kuna mtu yuko serikalini hapa? Hamna hata mmoja. Sisi wote tuko sekta binafsi. Nafikiri majadiliano mengi yanayotakiwa kwenye miradi hii mbalimbali, hebu tuangalie issues, kwamba issue ni zipi. Alafu wakati mwingine maelezo yanatolewa, watu hawataki kabisa kuelewa maelezo, wanarudi kwenye vitu ambavyo ni tungesema kwamba je, huu mradi ukiwekezwa ni faida gani hasa zitakuja kwa upande wa taifa, na vile vitu vya kurekebisha ni vipi. Alafu kwa nini hatutaki kuamini sekta binafsi? Sekta binafsi ile inatakiwa iamilike na viongozi wa sekta binafsi ni wafanyabiashara wakubwa ambao wapo na wengine wanajifunza kutokea pale. Watanzania tunatakiwa tuwe comfortable na sekta binafsi, kwa sababu asilimia 90 zaidi ya 95 tuko sekta binafsi. Sasa tunapoanza kushambuliana kwenye sekta binafsi, sio serikali haiwezi kutuajiri sisi wote. Sisi tunatakiwa kutengeneza kazi zetu, tuendeshe mashirika yetu, tuanzishe biashara zetu, tutaajiri watu na si wenyewe tutapata kazi. Sasa tunapolaumu viongozi wa sekta binafsi, badala ya kuangalia objective ya zile project zinazokuja, tunaangalia individualism, kwa sababu hapa tunamwangalia Rostam. Alafu naye anajitahidi kweli kujibu hizo nani zote, yani anajitahidi. Na jinsi anapojibu watu wanazidi kuuliza maswali. Mimi nafikiri sisi tunatakiwa tuangalie objectives ya zile project ni zipi, zina faida gani na nini kwa manufaa yetu. Sasa mmeniacha na mimi nimecomment kidogo kwenye hilo. Mimi ninaomba kama bwana Kibanda yuko hapa, kama mnamhitaji bwana Rostam, anapenda sana kuzungumza kwenye media, nisiseme anaweza kuzungumza kwenye media kikamilifu. Mnaweza kupanga na Mr. Kibanda akaweza akaorganize hiyo session nyingine, alafu mkapata muda wa kutosha, hata kama ni masaa 12 mkazungumza naye akajibu kila kitu kinachotakiwa. Kwa leo msije mkaweka habari ya DPK wakubwa kuliko ufunguaji wa biashara ya taifa hili sana. Baada ya kusema hayo, ningewaombeni sana tuishie hapa. Tuishie hapa, na nafikiri mnaweza kutapata muda mwingine. Yuko available full time, simzungumzii, lakini najua ni hivyo. Mkitaka kumpata mtampata anytime, mtazungumza naye. Na washukuruni sana kwa kuja. Asanteni sana, muwe na siku njema.
Shukran. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Carried away.
No, well done. Asanteni. I think we need to go.
Would you like to be president of Nigeria?
Some of us, we need to lead in terms of the trajectory of developing Africa through the business, not through the political leadership.
Are there good investment opportunities for non-Africans in Africa?
Well, there are good opportunities for everybody, and I think there's protection also for everybody.
So the Arsenal team, is that a team that you would like to buy someday?
It is a team that, yes, I would like to buy, someday.
Would you fix your tie, please?
Well, people wouldn't recognize me if my tie was fixed, but okay. Just leave it this way. All right. I don't consider myself a journalist, and nobody else would consider myself a journalist. I began to take on the life of being an interviewer, even though I have a day job running a private equity firm. How do you define leadership? What is it that makes somebody tick? Aliko Dangote is widely known to be the wealthiest man in Africa. So is that a title you're proud to have, or is that one where you get so many people calling you for money, you wish you weren't the wealthiest man in Africa?
Well, first of all, thank you very much, David. It's great to be here, and also seeing you today. Well, when they call you the wealthiest person in Africa, it comes with a lot of baggage. Of course, there are so many demands here and there, where people now come up with so many different, demands. But it is good because I like to give back to the society.
So, right now, you are involved in many philanthropic endeavors in Africa and elsewhere. Let's go through some of them before we go to how you actually made all of this money. So recently, you had an event in New York, where we are now, with Mo Ibrahim, also a wealthy African business person, and Bill Gates, in which you provided a fair amount of money for the African Center in New York, in Harlem. What is the African Center, and why did you do that?
Well, we did the Africa Center idea started with, Chelsea Clinton, Hadil, Mo Ibrahim, and my daughter Halima. My daughter Halima joined them later, and we realized that, look, we need to set up this Africa Center. We need to make it a reality. First of all, for us to be able to project Africa in a better light, bringing Africa to the rest of the world, especially when you look at, the third week of every September, we have the United Nations General Assembly, where the entire world converges in New York. And what we want to do is to tell the real narrative of Africa and tell the rest of the world what Africa is all about. So this is now to do with policy, business, and our culture. Because sometimes, especially, Americans, they don't really understand much about Africa. Somebody will say, okay, well, both you Africans, what kind of language do you speak? For example, in Africa, we speak about 2,000 different languages.
Well, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
So right now, one of the big problems in Africa is health, and you've been very involved in trying to eradicate polio in Nigeria, along with Bill Gates and his foundation. What is the progress that you've made to date?
I think we've done quite a lot. The progress has been very, very tremendous. In the last 3 years, we haven't really had any wild, virus of polio. And hopefully, when we work hard between now and the next 6 months, by April, we'll be certified to be polio-free country, which means the entire African continent will be polio-free.
Now, one of the things you're doing in the philanthropic world is building a hospital in Nigeria. Why do you feel a need to build a new hospital?
I think we need to build a world-class hospital, because when you look at it, in Nigeria, we spend quite a lot of money, where a lot of people go abroad for medical checkup, for medical operation. Then what we are trying to do is to give that hope to the population and say that, look, you don't need travel abroad. We will be able to treat you there.
Now, for those who may not be familiar with Africa, Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa. Is that right?
It is.
And it's growing at a very large rate in terms of its population. Is that?
Yeah, about 3%. Yeah, we're growing at about 3%.
So if at the current rate, at some point, more people will be in Nigeria than in the United States.
Well, by 2050, we'll be at about 450 million population, and I'm sure we will be way ahead of the States. We'll be about number 3 after China, India, and then it will be Nigeria in terms of population.
So by 2050, you could be the 3rd biggest country in the world by population, at the current population growth rate. So does that make you nervous about whether Nigeria can house and feed all these people?
It doesn't really make me nervous, because we have massive arable land, we have a lot of water, we have the right climate. So when you look at it, the major contributor to our GDP in Nigeria is agriculture. So I think we just need to tilt a bit and change from the normal oil, reliant economy to agriculture and manufacturing.
So Nigeria is known as well for having large oil deposits. Is that a major contributor to the Nigerian economy? Is that the major source of wealth in Nigeria?
It's not the major source, but it contributes 90% of the foreign exchange, that we have. And we also, the 60% of the government's revenue is also coming from oil. But I think the government is doing quite a lot to try and diversify the economy by trying to structure their own taxes, because we need to make more money from the taxes. The taxes, generation in Nigeria is a bit low. So I think government is working very hard to make sure that, yes, they adjust all these numbers.
As the wealthiest man in Africa and the wealthiest man in Nigeria, do you get pressure to run for political office yourself? Would you like to be president of Nigeria?
I think I'm doing a great job where I'm right now, so I don't think I need to be in a political space. Some of us, we need to lead in terms of the trajectory of developing Africa through the business, not through the political leadership.
Let's talk about how you made this amount of money, which is by far the largest amount of money that any individual has in Africa. So you came from a wealthy family or not a wealthy family?
I came from a wealthy family. My late great-grandfather in the 1940s was actually the richest, West African. My late grandfather was one of the wealthiest Nigerian. The family name is Dentata. That's from my maternal side. My father too, was fairly rich, but he was both, in business and also in politics. But David, one thing that I'm very, very proud of is that I did not inherit any money from my father. I built everything from scratch to where I am.
So your father died when you were relatively young?
Yeah, he died when I was 8 years old.
So he didn't leave in his will a large amount of money for you?
Well, he left in the will, but, whatever that I inherited from him, which means in assets, I gave that one to charity since then.
Okay, so did you go to college in Nigeria?
No, I went in Egypt.
Egypt, all right. And what did you study?
Business.
All right, so you graduated at what age?
I graduated at about 20 years old.
All right, so you went back from Egypt to Nigeria?
Yes, I went back, and then
what did you get a job? What did you do?
I started work with my, uncle, but there's few months, and then I went to Lagos, and now I started my own business by just, buying cement, selling. It was just a very low-key business.
All right, so you're 20, 21 years old, you're buying cement, you're a trader.
I was trading, yes.
You're not making cement, you're trading it.
I was trading at that time.
Now, cement is your main business. We'll talk about it in a moment, but why is cement such a big part of Africa's, wealth?
Well, the issue is that when you look at cement is what builds infrastructure. And we need a lot of infrastructural deficit. In Nigeria alone, we have about 17,000 deficit of housing. And it is all over in, Africa. So when we started cement in Nigeria, we realized that majority of it was actually imported. And that is why we went in there, we started, and it's a long story.
So you ultimately were trading cement, and then was it hard to get the money to keep that business going?
No, it wasn't really hard. At that time, I was buying domestically. We started importation in 1980, because I started business in 78. So by 1980, we started importing sugar, rice, commodities generally. And then we stopped the cement business. Because the cement, I was actually doing local trading. It wasn't really import business. We started import of cement in 2000.
Okay, so you had a cement trading business. Somebody thought Lafarge may be buying it. You decided not to sell because they wanted control. And you then decided to build your own cement manufacturing business. Is that right?
Yes, I decided in 2003 to build my own cement. That time, Nigeria was only producing about 1.8, 1.9 million tons. But we went ahead and started with 5 million tons of cement capacity.
So what year was that?
This was 2000, and we started the building end of 2003, and we finished in 2007.
And so now you're the largest cement manufacturer in Nigeria?
We are the largest cement manufacturer in sub-Saharan Africa.
So you're building a refinery in Nigeria. Why does Nigeria need another refinery?
When you look at the entire sub-Saharan Africa, you know, we have only 2 working refineries.
Founded on an audacious dream, Flutterwave is here to help Africans take the global stage. The fashion designer, the fitness influencer, the student dreaming of her MBA. Millions of us are ready. But while we have the talent, the products, and the great ideas, we struggle with the basic business need to pay and get paid. It's a pain. As Africans, we are divided by dozens of banks, currencies, and mobile wallets. So we started Flutterwave to make payments easy, to provide one easy-to-use payment platform for the entire continent and the products and services you need to support your business, so you can show the world what a successful entrepreneur looks like. This is our time. All it takes is that first payment, and we're on our way.
So the cement business is the core of your wealth and your company, but you're now building other things. So you're building a refinery in Nigeria. Why does Nigeria need another refinery?
Well, you know, David, let me give you a little bit of history. You know, what we do as Dangote Group, we use our businesses, like now we're using our current businesses to build the future of the, business. Like when we're in sugar, it was the sugar profit that we used in building the cement. Now with this cement, we're building so many things, refinery, fertilizer, petroleum products, and then we're doing also petrochemicals. With the refinery, your question is, okay, why are we building a refinery? When you look at the entire sub-Saharan Africa, we have only 2 working refineries. One, it is in Cote d'Ivoire, which has only 75,000 barrels a day. The other one is by Sasol in South Africa. But majority of all these countries, almost all the sub-Saharan African countries, they don't have refining capacity. So all of them, they export their oil, but they import products. So we realize that majority of the foreign exchange spending of Nigeria goes to petroleum products imports.
So Nigeria is exporting its oil, and then it has to buy refined oil products back, imported, right?
Yes.
And what you're doing is you're building one of the largest refineries in the world?
It is the largest single line in the world. It's 650,000 barrels a day.
Sorry, 650,000 barrels a day of refining capacity. So to do that, do you have to borrow some money, or where did the money come from to build that?
Well, what we are doing right now, we are borrowing from the commercial banks. We are also borrowing some money from, some financial institutions, like the, African Development Bank, the development banks, financial development, banks. We are borrowing from, African Exim Bank.
So many companies outside of Africa would like to invest in Africa. Where do you recommend that they invest? In Nigeria, South Africa, Kenya? Obviously, you're probably partial to Nigeria, but are there good investment opportunities for non-Africans in Africa?
Well, there are good opportunities for everybody, and I think there's protection also for everybody. As we speak today, even foreign investors. Let me give you an example. In Nigeria, if I have a partnership with you that I'm investing, I won't have what you call minimum taxation. But if the company is owned by myself alone, as a Nigerian or Nigerian entity, we have a minimum taxation. So there's quite a lot in terms of inviting foreigners to come and invest in Africa. But countries that I can suggest for people to invest, one of them, of course, Nigeria. Ghana is a very good place to invest. Cote d'Ivoire, Kenya. Kenya is also a very good place to invest.
Now, I first met you a number of years ago when I was raising my firm's African investment fund, and you invested in it. And today, the bloom seems to be off the rose in African private equity investing. It was very attractive to many people 4, 5, 6 years ago. Today, it seems to be less attractive. Is that because the economies in Africa have gone down a bit, or what would you say is the reason?
Well, I think most of that reason, is to do of, first of all, lack of understanding of where to even invest. Look at the investment that were made with you. I think I can say that 90% of whatever we invested in, we are doing very well. So I think it is where you should invest. Even myself as an African, I cannot invest in every single sector. So I have to be very choosy of where I invest. There's a lot of, wrong perception. People read stories from newspapers and they believe what they are, reading. But I think, as we go along, there are quite a lot of changes in most African countries to try and change in terms of, focus on the economy.
Now, you live principally in Lagos, is that right?
Yes, I do.
And how many people are there in Lagos?
In Lagos today, we have about 25 million.
25 million people?
Yes, in terms of population. I know it's a very small...
So getting around in Lagos, which I've tried to do, is not that easy, though getting around in New York's not that easy either. But, for example, when you get around, do you have, like, special police cars that take you around? How do you get around Lagos?
Well, I get around in Lagos. Sometimes I have, police escort, but not all the time.
Okay.
Over the weekend, I drive myself.
You drive yourself?
Oh, yes, I do. I drive myself.
And people stare at you and say, there's the wealthiest man in Africa driving himself?
They do sometimes when they recognize, the person driving, yes.
So do you go to a restaurant by yourself? Do people come up for selfies or they ask you for money?
They don't really ask me for money, but even here, anytime when I go to places, to either eat or to, I get a lot of requests for selfies, for, yes, it's normal.
Now, you have some outside interests. One of them, I think you're interested in what we call in the United States soccer, but other people call football. So the Arsenal team, and is that a team that you would like to buy someday?
It is a team that, yes, I would like to buy, someday. But like what I keep saying today, we have $20 billion worth of projects. And I think that's really what I want to concentrate on. I'm trying to finish building the company. And then after we finish, maybe sometime in 2021, we can...
So you're not buying a team right now?
I'm not buying Arsenal right now. I'm buying Arsenal when I finish all this
okay.
because I'm trying to take the company to the next level.
What are the attributes that you think you have brought to the table which make you successful?
I think the most important one, number one, David, if you are going into any business, you must understand the business A to Z. You must know that business.
Okay, so in terms of Africa itself, generally, are you bullish on Africa's prospects as a place in which people can invest, private equity firms or industrial companies to invest?
I think I'm very, very bullish when it comes to Africa, and it is the main reason, David, today why we have $20 billion that we're investing all, at a go, which will finish by end of next year, first quarter of, in the next 2 years. Let's say in the next 2 years. I'm very, very bullish, in Africa. We have done very, very well in, Africa, and I can tell you, if we continue with what we are doing today, based on our own projections, we'll be able to be, within the next 5 years in the Fortune 100.
Now, from time to time on some television networks, I see advertisements for Dan Gote.
Yes.
As for your company. Is that just general brand building? Why do you advertise it, say, in the United States, the Dan Gote brand, because most of your businesses are not in the United States?
Well, it's a brand building, and like what we have planned to do, we are not going to remain dominant only in Africa. We're also we are going to invest outside Africa, because what we are doing right now, David, we are investing, yes, mainly in sub-Saharan Africa. But if you look at what we are building today, we have a company that has revenues of $4 billion. In the next 2 years, we'll have a company that will have a revenue of about $30 billion. So with that, we'll have quite a lot of money. What we are trying to do is to use major part of that money and invest outside Africa, and maybe 40% of it to continue to invest in Africa, because we have invested very, very heavily in Africa.
So you're in your early 60s.
Yeah, I'm 62 now.
62, well, that's pretty early 60s. So do you intend to keep doing this for 10 more years, 20 more years, 30 more years?
Let me not commit, but I think I will maybe work for the next, at least, very active in the next 15 years.
So let's suppose somebody's watching this and say, I want to be like Mr. Dan Gote. I want to be a successful businessman in Africa. What are the attributes, or anywhere, what are the attributes that you think you have brought to the table which make you successful? Is it intelligence, hard work, persistence, all of those things? What would you say are the most important attributes?
I think the most important one, number one, David, if you are going into any business, you must understand the business A to Z. You must know that business. You shouldn't just go and invest because somebody now will say, okay, hey, there's good money in cement, then you go and jump into cement. You have to understand the business in and out. And that's the difference with me. I know my business in and out. You can wake me up any time and ask me about fertilizer, ask me about anything that we are doing. And the other one is really to work very hard, and you have to have the tenacity of continuing to, you have some hiccups here and there, but you have to be focused in terms of what you are doing.
Now, I've known you for a while, and I never seem to get you to yell or scream, or you seem very low key. You don't use the technique of yelling and screaming at people, or you're just very low key and even keeled. To what do you attribute that, or am I wrong?
I think, no, you're not wrong. That's my nature. I'm very quiet, and I'm very, very calm. I get upset sometimes when people try to be, either to outsmart me, or I don't like people who will not tell me the truth. I always like people to look at me through, and tell me the truth.
So are you investing any in the United States?
We are going to start investing, in the United States just after this project. We want to open a family office, both in New York and in London. We already have an office in London which has been operating for the last 30 years.
Okay.
So we want to turn part of that, as a family office, so that we can diversify the wealth. As you know, I've discussed this with you before, where, sometimes in Africa you have issues of devaluation, so we want to really preserve some of the family's wealth.
Right. Now, sometimes wealthy people, they collect art, they collect cars, they collect other things, or what, some of your wealth that you're not using for philanthropy, what do you do with it? Do you collect, are you a collector of things, or?
I'm not really a collector of arts, anytime when I have excess money, I like to put more in terms of charity. I don't really have very expensive lifestyle.
And the great pleasure of your life is just building your company and then giving away extra money?
That's my greatest pleasure in life.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, it's a very good success story, and I know a lot of people wanted to hear how you've done it. And I guess you're saying it's hard work and persistence, a little luck maybe from time to time.
Luck, definitely. Luck must be there. If there's no luck, you won't be able to make it, of course.
Well, thank you very much for coming today, and I appreciate your giving us your insights. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David.
We eat, we travel abroad, we buy gold, we enjoy ourselves. No, that's not how they see work. For them, work is a platform. If you don't remember anything that I've said today, remember this. Work is a platform. Work is a platform. And you ask me, did a platform for what? It's very easy for me to say a platform to self-actualize. But that's not putting it properly. Let's go into workshop mode for a minute. A platform to, there's a gap there. Fill it in with your dream. And I typically say something and people will laugh. If your real joy will come from Atilogu dancing, put it. Work is a platform to actualize my Atilogu dancing. It doesn't matter how far-fetched that thing that drives you, that thing that gives you joy, fill in the gap. Have you filled in your gap? Some people are afraid to fill in that gap. Fill it in, fill it in. Okay? And then let's move. What is this work is a platform? Just work is a platform when you remember or consider that your life is one line, maybe straight, bent, but it's one line. Beginning to the end being that's your dream. And then the job is a certain point in time in that life. But if your mentality is, this is the place that I just go and collect my money at the end of the month, and I go out and I take my babe and I carry my wife and my children, they go and do jumping somewhere. It's just very small-minded. Forgive me, but we are here to speak the truth. Do you know that work is the place where you first develop success habits? Discipline. Yvonne talked about reading. Very, very important. Punctuality. They don't come upon you by Holy Spirit on your bed. They just don't. Work is where we onboard skills, including our social skills, how we navigate society successfully. Work is where opportunities find us. And there are a plethora of stories where people in the course of their job came upon something, and that completely transformed their life. Work is the early stages of your network. Your net worth has nothing to do with the money in your bank account. Am I correct? It is your network. I don't know anywhere that offers you that kind of network. Regulators you meet, colleagues you meet, customers you meet, all sorts of people come and meet you at work. And somebody is saying that work is, what's that thing? Where you go and collect salary. Work is where we find mentors and sponsors. And let me just stop here and say something quickly. Because in recent times, I've heard this thing quite a bit. Mentor, sponsor, the twin words. Yeah, your mentors, they provide guidance. People who have walked the path that you want to walk. And every time you need help, you run to them. Correct. Sponsors, your advocates, they are in the room. They open doors for you. They speak up for you. Correct. Did anybody ever pause to tell you that you choose your mentors, but your sponsors choose you? Let's take it a notch higher. It doesn't matter how many times you say the man is your sponsor. He is not your sponsor till he says so. Stop playing. This sponsor matter. Let's go up again. The man is selfish. Because your sponsor sees you as an extension of his own brand. Nobody is going to adopt you if you will diminish him. If you like, be singing it left, right, and center. Those are the people that open doors for you. Abi? But even more importantly is the fact that this person you call your sponsor, it presupposes that he was watching you. Those of you who are disengaged from work, he was watching you. And guess what? He may not even work in your organization. He may not work in your organization. He may be your regulator. He may be a customer. He can be anybody. And he has been watching you. There is an interview that happens before the interview. And you have been going through it, you didn't know. So the people who actually are able to anchor themselves in work are the ones who accrue these benefits. If you are disengaged, you can never accrue these benefits. It's just the simple truth. But let me say something quickly. There's something interesting about when you understand how work is a platform. Your energy just changes. I've been there, I'm telling you. Others, they spoke to me somehow. Others, they spoke to me somehow. Other small things that touch your skin. Because you realize that what you are in this for is much bigger than somebody talking to you anyhow. He was quoting scripture. Let me just quote small. Let it not be as if we are not inside church. Eh? So they suffered. They learned what? Obedience. By what? The things they suffered. There's one scripture I've been enjoying recently. God said he put, when the children of Israel reached promised land, he put some problem people for them so that the children who did not know war might know war. If the God that created you said you need to know war, you say no, it's soft life. Ain't going nowhere. You are taking my time, oh. Okay. But you know what? Let's even agree that some people are in this thing for salary. No problem. But it's salary that gives you the stability. And let me tell you about this man. David Solomon is CEO at Goldman Sachs, top investment banking firm in the world. What he really likes is music. Do you know he's an active practicing DJ? Google him. I'm not guessing. I follow him on Instagram. He has 2 Instagram pages, David Solomon and David Solomon Music. So they play.